We're back. Oh, did I time that right? Hey, you guys like my shirt? It's blue today. It's because I got BBQ sauce on my white one. I even washed it on Saturday night because of how bad it smelled. I wear that thing like once a week, but usually I get so wound up that I get a little bit smelly. And so I was like, I'll wash it. I put it on. I had a little bit of chicken, and then I got dirty. Go figure, huh? But anyway, whatever. We're back, 8 o'clock p.m. Tuesday night, Whitty Review channel on the Chateau de Marhill network. Glad that everybody's in the room, whoever decides to show up. Lots of stuff going on today. Lots of stuff. Oh, we got lots of topics to talk about, Kif, my strongest warrior. There's a lot going on. All right, but first off, if you're not already, make sure you follow Indie Reporter on Twitter. We're building followers. We're getting news out there, the things that people don't want to talk about, and really just debunking a lot of things that the leftist media is putting out there. Indie Star, Cap Chronicle, State Affairs, all this crap, all this BS. I can't handle it anymore. That's why Indie Reporter was created in the first place, so we can fight back. As the Micah Beck would say, the woke indoctrination. Indoctrination? But anyway, make sure you follow R. Franco. Listen, 40 followers. We got to bump those things up. Didn't you know that R. Franco is the creator of the Indie Reporter logo? I might get some merch. Also, Brandon Shane's been put out some good content as well. He's been going to protest and interviewing people. He got not in a scuffle, but like in a disagreement with some leftists who thought he was an economist. Also, thank you to Chris Moore on Saturday night. If you guys were followed that show on the Patriot Soapbox on Rumble, had a lot of fun on there. Make sure you give him a follow. And do not forget, there is no show on Saturday. Yours truly is going to have a night off and have a little bit of whiskey, maybe a little bit of margarita, so instead, Friday night is going to be the Indie Reporter show for the trust hierarchy. So we're going to have all our shit bag. Yep, I had to curse. Sorry. Our garbage bag state representatives, and we're going to be putting them into a trust hierarchy 1 through 5. I didn't go any higher or lower, as you would say. And for 5, I thought about building its own separate category for the devil's anus. But then I was like, you know what? I think getting the point across with the 5. But the second draft is done now. So I think we got it all figured out where we're putting everybody and why they are going in there too. Also, okay, so let's just get into it. We're going to try and end at a nice 8:50 p.m. tonight because I am tired. I am ready for a nap. So let's just do it. All right, so there is some drama today between Micah Beckwith and Rob Kendall today. If you were listening to WIBC, I personally do not listen to WIBC. There's only so many window commercials that I can listen to before I blow my brains out. And I feel like if I had to listen to a whole all day of WIBC, there's a good chance that you would see me hanging from the ceiling fan, but not with my hand on my lower regions like Kill Bill. You know, the guy from the Kung Fu show, something like that. A little asphyxiation or eradication. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, him and Micah were going at it a little bit with about the property tax stuff and what he's been doing with the at the state house. And Rob was getting mad because like, hey, you know what? I'm the one who's been trying to get all this property tax stuff. We're the reason why Micah Beckwith got elected as lieutenant governor, which there's a lot to be said about that. But also Micah Beckwith is the reason why Mike Braun got voted in. There's a very good chance and a very good argument too that if Beckwith would have lost lieutenant governor's race, we would probably have a Democrat governor. If anything, it would be like right on the edge, like I don't know, probably like 50% because the libertarians would have taken it away as a middle finger to Mike Braun. I don't know, who's to say. Well, now don't get me wrong. the whole property tax thing is a giant mess. It's not going to help us out. I'm very worried about the rural communities. My property taxes went up $200 for the year. So what are you going to do, basically? But the rural communities, I'm mostly worried about that too much money is going to be taken away, where they're going to need to put up solar farms and wind farms and data centers and try and get all that subsidy money. But very passionate between those two of what was going on. And then I hopped onto the WIBC page, and then Rob Kendall, as usual, kept the ranting going on. I'm thinking about having like a morning movie of just watching this and giving my opinion on it, but I don't know. So one of the things that was brought up too was this article that came out today. It was about the Micah's money that, or Micah's SUV that was spent, or that he bought. So what Micah was saying before was that, hey, this old SUV that Suzanne Crouch had apparently was not a car. It was an SUV. It was a 2022 Dodge Durango. And what was Micah saying is like it had a ton of miles on it. It had gotten into some fender benders. And, we wanted to make sure that we had a good vehicle because we're going to be traveling all over the place. And here we go again with what I was saying before with the leftist media twisting the whole thing up again. Right here. The car had 150,000 miles on it. A 3-year-old car had 150,000 miles on it, which is bananas. So what they ended up doing was that they somehow they got a $25,000 trade-in value for the Durango, which I don't know. That seems very weird with 150,000 miles on it. Yeah, well, very interesting you say that, Kiff. So it had 150,000 miles on it on a 2022 Dodge Durango. And where was it too? So they traded it in so they can get some get some value out of it, I guess. But there was 2 accidents reported in 2022 on the vehicle back in 2022. One was a side swipe collision with another car, and another incident caused damage to the front right hand side of the car. Airbags did not deploy. Also, I had been involved in a previous fender bender in which the former lieutenant governor hit a yellow post at a gas station in early 2023. How do you like that? But which was repaired by IDOA. But it did not have a record of either of the 2022 incidents. It possibly that the work was performed at an outside shop, which is permitted under it. So my hope, and hold on, there was another thing too. Where was it? There was a, hold on. Okay, there it is. Also, there was 2 software recalls, car software recalls affecting the car software. There we go. You can tell how tired I am. So I decided, it's like, all right, well, I don't have the VIN, so I don't know which recalls they are. So Dodge Durango and Ram pickup trucks recalled because stability control may malfunction. 2022 Dodge Durangos. So this is probably one of the software updates that he was talking about. So let's just check off some boxes real quick, shall we? 150,000 miles. 2 fender benders. Crouch hit a yellow pole in a gas station, and it had 2 recalls, one of them possibly doing with bad software inside of it. And so you're going to say, no, we're going to give this old, lot of mile, beat up, software compromised vehicle to the new lieutenant governor? Yeah, okay, guess what? I'm officially on Micah's side on this one. I 100% get it. So there is no way that I'm going to say, you know what? No, Micah should have gotten this lot of mile car, lot of wear and tear, multiple accidents, and software compromise. No thanks. Do you remember Jackie Walorski? I mean, of course, that had nothing to do with all this stuff, but it was a RAV4. But is that what? So Rob Kendall was getting mad about it. Rob, is that what kind of car you want your alleged friend? Yeah, exactly, Ryan. Exactly. I would be like, no thanks. And first off, it's crazy that even got $25,000 in a trade-in value. That's bananas to me. I don't know how that's possible, but for whatever, I guess. But I don't even like Dodges either. Yeah, exactly. Also considering the Jackie thing. Yeah, exactly. It was, hey, you know what? This is an issue. I want to make sure that we don't get Walorski basically on a 3-year-old car that has 150,000 miles on it. This is the information that I've been wanting because I had a feeling that Micah was onto something. He's like, I don't feel safe in this. We can get a rebate or a trade-in value off of it, and then the department will pay for the rest of it. I'm fine with that. Officially, I am on Team Micah of this. I think Rob Kendall should be ashamed of himself. After he got this information, allegedly Rob is saying, it's like, hey, you know what? This is my really good friend. I think you're going to put him in a compromised car with that. No, thank you. All right. So also, Gabe Whitley has officially been sentenced to prison. That's right. He is getting 3 months in the federal clink, and he's getting 1 year probation. And obviously, Abdul, Rob, Hammer, Nigel, and Casey are all doing laps on this. They're loving all of it. And I would say, I don't know if he went straight to jail. I don't think that he did. I'm sure there's probably a date that he'll have to report on. But if you're Rob or if you're Abdul and Gabe is saying, I'm feeling desperate and I have nothing left to do, you probably want to be locking your doors out. I'm just saying that he knows all your addresses. I mean, I'm not saying if I would, because this whole place has got Rambo traps everywhere and my garden needs some food. I wouldn't really worry about it. But I don't understand that this is a good opportunity for Gabe to turn this into a positive note. He could write a book about it. He could have a memoir on it personally. And I would recommend this, Gabe. You need to start watching some YouTube videos on how to build a shiv and how to hide things too. You know, talking about hiding them up in the brown eye and all. I don't know. I'm just saying. Also, like, get like a teardrop tattoo too before you get into the clink. That way you can show everybody, shave your head, get a teardrop tattoo. So you walk in there like, no, this boosie is going to be taken nice and tight. No one's entering the back door over here. And you know what? Like I said, he can write a whole memoir about it. I don't know if it's going to be that bad. It's basically a white collar crime, but 3 months. I'm sure it'll go by quick. Also, guess what? Who else sucks? The Indianapolis GOP. Look at these dates. There are no dates at all of what is going on in 2025. I said that this was going to happen when Natalie Goodwin became chair of the Indianapolis GOP, Marion County GOP, that she was going to start off hot and fire and ready to go, but it's going to dwindle because she'll realize, like, oh boy, this is actually a lot of work. And what happened? She got voted in March, and I think that all the March stuff was already set up. So she hasn't even updated the calendar of when all these meetings are supposed to be happening. Of course, another L from the Marion County GOP. Also, I want to check something real quick. They are also posting articles from a leftist about what's going on, what they would like to see in, I don't even know if there it is. Cool. Real quick. What the hell? All right, hold on. Boom, there we go. This article right here is from Jeff Thompson. This guy is a major leftoid and wants to get rid of cars in Indianapolis, if not everywhere. And what do we have here? We have the Indianapolis Republicans posting this article. This makes me so angry. I can't stand it, but whatever. What I also can't stand are rapists. What's going on in Jennings County is absolutely disgusting. We have this 15-year-old boy who allegedly raped a 7-year-old on a bus, not once, but multiple times. And if this all ends up being true, there's no reason why this guy should not be given a helicopter ride. So from Angela Ganote, too, what was going on, said that it happened multiple times. They got the footage from the bus. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, leftists. Oh, my stars. Exactly. Hey, you know what? How about Democrats post articles from Republicans, Brad? How about that? Hell yeah, Brad. While we're on the subject, what are we having our debate? You message me and saying, hey, you want to have a debate? And then I go, okay, let's have one. And then you just like shrivel into the corner and say, oh, actually, I don't want it after all. And I'm the one who had to reach out to John for it. This is what I love about Democrats. They act so chest puffery. And then when I was like, all right, let's do it. They're like, oh, actually, God. That's what Democrats do every single time. I love it. Speaking of Democrats, though, our favorite rhino, Michael Paul Hart, I saw him at the Franklin Township data center thing. And he had this. This is what's funny. He has this weekly newsletter. It's kind of crap, to be honest with you. But he talks about Hilton Signia, making the most of it, and saying, where is it? Our caucus did not initially support public funding for it, but as a sixth member of the super minority, I know it's important to keep fighting to improve the projects once they pass. On Thursday, I toured the Signia site, visit any to produce, blah, 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 blah. Moving forward, our focus is paying down the project debt quickly, preventing deferred maintenance on other CIB assets. And then he wants to spend taxpayer money on rebuilding that garbage Washington Square Mall. And this is what's funny about it. They just approved bonds as well to do this Old City Hall project. I don't know how much, I forgot how much money it is. I've talked about it before, but we're on the hook for that. Same thing with the Signia Hotel. We don't even know if this whole thing is going to pan out or not. I would guess maybe, but this is how bad of a plan it is when the banks are like, too risky. We don't want to be on hook on it. But what do the Republicans, the Democrats, and the mayor okay with? They're okay with the taxpayers being on the hook if this whole project fails. Shocker, right? But he was also at the Franklin Township. I don't think he talks about it on here, does he? No, he had in his previous newsletter where he's like, I didn't even know that if this data center thing doesn't turn out, then it's going to turn into a warehouse site. And I was like, where'd you think it was going to turn into a water park? It's like, this is prime area right off the highway. What do you think they're going to be doing with it? Unbelievable. Also, speaking of scams, though, I'm not 100% convinced. Maybe Kiff can help me on this one, but this blue envelope program, I think this thing is going to be a scam. I don't know. I think the city is going to end up giving more money to the Arc of Indiana, which I'm not 100% convinced it's a legit operation. But this is how the whole thing is going to work. Oh, I have heightened anxiety or communication challenges during a police interaction, so I have to have everything in a blue envelope and be like, this is like when you're deaf. And then you have to have all these cards. Excuse me, sir, I am deaf. Please buy my stickers. That kind of stuff. I'm not for this. There's no reason why an actual adult doesn't understand that, hey, guess what? You need to have your license and your registration and your insurance if you get pulled over. Also, the other way of not getting pulled over, don't do anything to attract the police on your way. I'm just saying, like, this is all adult stuff. And if that is a struggle for you, then you should not be driving. I'm just saying, I have been pushing for this so hard that it should be harder to get a driver's license. I am so tired of all these jerk-offs that are on the road that are distracted by their phone. They're just looking at the clouds. They're not paying attention. I think that we should make it harder to get a driver's license. And I don't care who you are. I only want 120 IQ people on the road so I don't have to deal with all these dipshits, sorry, John, on the road. All right, let's just go into what happened. Yeah, we're still good on time. We got a half an hour. We're good. All right, so what happened during the end of session? Well, I watched all of it until 2:00. Brad, you're on the same page with me, right? All right. See, Brad's back in my good graces now. We're back on the same team again. All right. So what happened on the last day of session? Well, it was a lot. And I do not know how to navigate this whole thing. Yes. Boom. Brad, we are on the same page. High five again. Let's go. I'm totally fine with that. 1 year minimum sentence. Same thing with people who don't use their turn signals. I'm sorry. You're hitting the booty house. You're out of here. So this was at 12:24 a.m. and this is how I felt. And that was the day of the draft as well. So I have 3 monitors in front of me. I got House, I got Senate, and I got the draft. And I was just watching all these. It's like, God, this is terrible because Democrats are on the floor just bitching. They're just bitching the whole time. Oh my God, we didn't get this or that. Oh, we need to spend more money on Medicaid. Oh, there's fraud in Medicaid. It's not that much fraud, so we shouldn't have to worry about it. You know, next to the people that are going slow in the fast lane should be people that have Medicaid fraud. We should cut their legs off. Yeah, I'm convinced that we should it legs off. Go ahead and clip it. I don't care. We'll turn it into a bunch of Charles Xaviers for all I care. So, it was late. But then I found out, so I personally went back like the last 5 years to see like what was the latest time that they were on for Sign and Die. And it was 2:46 a.m. back in 2023. And that just blows my mind because I think this last one ended up at like almost 2 o'clock, maybe like 1:45, something like that. But there are a lot of things that got taken out, then put back in, then taken out again. Remember, these are all backroom deals, and I didn't really even think I'd remember. I couldn't process that basically because I have been watching for 4 months. The last 4 months, I've been going through committee videos and watching all these, clipping all of them, sending it over to Sarah and Kyle and be like, hey, does this make sense for a normie? And they're like, oh, blah, 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 maybe not. I have like all the videos that you see on Indie Reporter, I've clipped most of them. There are more. There are so many more that I've clipped. And it's like, but for the regular normie brain, there needs to be so much more context. And we're still like stuck in that whole goldfish memory Vine thing of like, you only have a minute at most. You're probably only going to get 20 seconds and then you're on to the next thing, unless it's something that's interests you. Like potholes. If there's an elected official talking about potholes or weed or education or any of that, they will watch it. As you can see, look at this one. Talk about the Sign and Die with 481 views on it. But if you go to let's see, this one with the pothole, 3.8 thousand views on it, or even the one that was previous with Dan Boots talking about it, 7,000 views on this one, because this one talks about Boy Scouts are fixing the potholes over where he lives. That's how much of a joke the Department of Public Works is right now. And by the way, I'm not even sure if that's legal. Dan Boots wasn't sure if it was legal because when I contact DPW, the trustee's office, the city councilors, I couldn't get a straight answer of who was actually, if I was allowed to fill the potholes on my street. So this year, I'm giving everybody the middle finger and I'm filling my own potholes because I'm not blowing out a tire because of your incompetence. Anyway, so this was very funny too. Republican Vanetta Becker, she goes onto the Senate floor talking about HB 1001 before it gets voted on. It might have been after it got voted on. And she's talking about how, oh, well, you know, women only get paid 70% compared to a man. And then unless you're a leader, but there's not enough leaders on there. Turns out this lady has been in elected office since 1981. This predates me. This predates me being a sparkle in my dad's eye. I mean, what are we doing here? This lady has been in office longer than I have been alive. That's bananas to me. There is no way. I think my mom was I think she was driving it. Hold on, wait. Hold on, let me think. Yeah, my mom was driving age when this woman got elected into office. Unbelievable. There are a couple other things too. Mike Young went onto the floor and he said he was peed off. Great energy from Mike Young. Again, with the W's from Mike Young. It's 10 o'clock at night and he's still rolling in there, whips it out, slaps everybody in the face and said, what are we doing here? You're giving us a half an hour to read 130 pages of this bill of the budget? No. Okay, moving on. So what happened? At the Senate and the House reached the final budget compromise. What do they get? Well, because we At this current budget for this year, it's like $400 million short, if I remember right. And then for the following budget, which will be not next year, but the following year, they're saying it's about $2 billion that they're short on. So Fady and Greg Porter, a Senate Democrat and a Senate rep, Democrat House, Democrat Senate, are all saying we need to raise the Siggy tax $2 a pack. So when the report came out that they were going to be short on money, they're like, all right, Republicans said, all right, you know what? You're saying this is going to bring in $800 million within 2 years. Let's see if you're right. Because allegedly, Fady, you're this big accountant head. You used to be the comptroller for Indianapolis, and then you're just pointing the finger at everybody else like, why they don't have enough money. Well, here's a thought. Maybe we shouldn't have given $45 million to the Indianapolis Foundation so they can bail out criminals. You remember that Gavin guy? He stabbed some gas station worker. He gets bailed out and then he stabs his girlfriend to death. Yeah, that was from your tax money. Anyway, people forget about that, but that's okay because I'm here. Daddy's here to remind all of you that Marion County is full of incompetent morons and the GOP are just a bunch of idiots. There's levels to this whole thing. So anyway, $2 billion shortfall for the following one with an additional $400 million less in the current budget cycle, which would be this one. So it'd be this year and the following year. So they said they're going to increase the forms of tobacco, not just cigarettes, in the final budget compromise. I am very curious of what will happen out of this. What I thought was more interesting, too, was I did not know that the hemp bill got killed. There was so much going on with conference committee showing up. Yeah, I think, he's been in there for a while, too. Everybody's been in there for like 20 years. Let's see. The IEDC budget got reduced by 25 to 30%, which we're going to talk about here at the end. This is why I have not been getting any sleep for the last couple of days, because I've just been going down rabbit holes on this thing. Let's see what we got here. They got some pushback, obviously, because they want to give more of your hardworking money to a bunch of lazy fat people that don't want to do anything but watch Jerry Springer and eat bonbons, a bunch of fat slobs. And here's Fatty. He's saying that this cigarette tax will yield close to $800 million over the next 2 years. I wish that there was some kind of there was a Republican senator that said, I will bet you that does not happen. I will bet you, and you know what our bet will be? The election. One of us is not going to be running for re-election. That's what I want to see. So obviously, I talked about this on the Saturday show too. You know what, Brad? You're lucky that next week is the weed show, and I'm going to debunk all of you potheads. I'm going to debunk all you degenerate potheads and show how stupid you are. We still love you, though. You're like the dog that farts, that gives me a crop dusting. But we still love you. All right, so what state had the highest revenue generated from Siggy tax? Yeah, you didn't even know where the bodies were hidden. So this is what I was talking about before. California did this. After a federal tax hike in 2009, California saw an 8.1% drop in cigarette sales, the largest one-year decline. Their revenue fell from $913 million to $839 million. And now you're probably thinking, like, oh, but it's still $800 million. This is California, okay? So I've been trying to find like how much Indiana gets in cigarette tax revenue right now. And I think it was like $200 million, something like that. Where was it? Yeah. Okay. So in 2024, in Indiana collected approximately $213 million in cigarette and tobacco tax revenue. So I was comparing it to size, and Tennessee actually collected $403 million. And what do you know by that? Their taxes are actually cheaper on cigarettes than it is in Indiana. And this has been my theory from the whole on. If you were to actually reduce the tax, you would get people buying it more, because people will buy things when they're cheap. And that's just how it works. And I don't know why everybody would think like, oh, we need to raise more revenue. why don't we make things more expensive? Well, then that just turns into a regressive tax where people are not buying it anymore. I think I remember hearing somebody say that. Was it Drew, maybe? We were at the Indie Defenders meeting, and then Mike Braun came in there. I might be wrong on this, but they wanted to raise, the Democrats also wanted to raise the alcohol tax, the casino tax, the online gambling tax. They wanted to raise all the taxes in Indiana, just to let you know. Basically, all of the sin taxes. All right, so Laura Loomer, of course, goes on a conniption fit about this whole cigarette tax, and I thought this whole thing was really weird. Why? Because Loomer does not talk about stuff like this at all. Like, she's on the national stage of everything. If you go onto her page, let's just reload. She's talking about all the national stuff, all the Trump stuff, everything about Trump, everything that's going in national politics. This is what's crazy, though. Nobody cares about the cigarette tax overall. Cernovich had a post too about it. So I started digging deep into Todd Houston, and then I figured out why. I found out why Loomer was going after him, and it's this about loyalists to Trump. And not only that, and I'm not going to tell you what I found, because all of you guys know out there that is watching this right now, all of you guys know that I would tell you, but there are some things that I will not tell you because I know that I will either get black bagged or all the target will be on me. But she got stiffed on a job, and it's somebody that Houston knows, and that's why Loomer went after Houston. This had nothing to do with the cigarette tax. I think I told like one or two people who it was, and I said, don't tell this to anybody. And they're like, yeah, you definitely get black bagged if you were to make that up. Check LinkedIn. Check LinkedIn. All right. Speaking of, though, all right, we got plenty of time. This is awesome. Boy, I'm just running through this shit today. I love it. Sorry. I'm like, I'm 0-3 right now. Sorry, John. I'm all excited and I'm tired. So I started looking into Noblesville Mayor Chris Jensen because he's such a fat slob and he's totally an establishment jerk off. And I was looking to see who gave him money. And somehow I got connected into the Simons. And we all know that the Simons give a lot of money to Democrat voters. So I was going through who gave him money. It was like 4 different Simon people. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up real quick since I do have time. It was like Cindy. Yeah, here it was. It was Deborah, Raquel, Stephen, and Cynthia. So I decided to look them up. And here we go right here. Deborah gave, so I was like, Ryan Mears got money from the Simons. So I went back through Ryan Mears' campaign accounts. $40,000 from Deborah Simon. I got all the pages listed on there. You can just go back a few seconds and just check out his campaign reports. But then I found this one. George Hornato and Cindy Simon, a better democracy for Indiana and America. This was back in October that they had this joint op-ed, I guess. Who is Jorge Hornato? Jorge, or George Hornato, he's running as Andre Carson next year for the Democrat spot. He's going for the primary spot. So if the Simons are involved with George Hornato, that means Andre Carson has a legitimate chance of losing next year's primary. Like, it's going to be an expensive primary for him if he has Simon money backing George Hornato. It's going to get really interesting. So Jorge Hornato, I think he is a strategic advisor right now, but I think he was a lobbyist before, if I remember right. Government advising political strategy from Hanoto Strategies. Where did he work for? Oh, Ice Miller. That's what it was. He used to work for Ice Miller as a lobbyist. So who knows how far that'll go. All right. So some other things that happened. By the way, yeah, I will be keeping my eyes out because next year there's going to be a bunch of elections. We already know that Diego has an opponent for the primary. Yeah, GDP Pro is coming in. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just another establishment person with a lot of money. That's all. It's not going to be. The difference between Hornado and Carson is that Hornado won't be plugging land whale snow bunnies. That will be like the literal only difference. But everything else will be the same. Maybe if Carson laid off, forget it. So yeah, there's a lot of elections going on. Diego's going to have somebody. He has Abu already posted it today. But I already knew a couple of days ago. Dave Shelton's running against Diego. There's 2 other names that might be in there too. Should I even say them? I don't know. In the chat, should I say who I think is running against Diego next year? But Dan Elliott, I don't think is going to have a contender. Elise Nashal is definitely not going to have a contender. Probably Jamie Rittenhauer and probably Philip Clay. Those are my 2 possible people that might be running against Diego. Nothing confirmed, obviously, but there are definitely some whispers that are going on. I don't mind Dave. If I had to pick between the 4, I would pick Dave. If Jamie had more clerk experience, I would probably pick Jamie. But just because she is more, I don't know, patriot minded, Shelton is like, I want to keep my head down and I want to make sure all this stuff is working properly. I think as a worker, I would pick Shelton. If I could merge like Jamie and Shelton into like one mold, that would be perfect. But at this point, Diego is such an awful Secretary of State that I won't pick. What do I care, though? There's no way that I'll even become a delegate. So whatever. Let's go back into it. State freezes funding for economic development affiliate, promises audit. So this happened in January, right? So this was in this article was just the other day. But I believe that Braun put out where is it? I can't find it. Braun put out an executive order of making sure that IEDC, and I think other nonprofits too, were actually reporting their 990s, but because apparently IEDC has not reported their 990 in the last 4 or 5 years. And when I found it, allegedly it's supposed to come out by the end of the year. And I heard Rob Kendall saying is like, oh, we're going to be investigating ourselves. We're not going to find anything. No, I believe the shoe is going to drop. I believe that whether it's a patsy or whatever, that somebody is going to get in trouble. No consequences, of course, but there is definitely going to be a name or names that are going to get involved with this. And this is really what I've been searching the last couple of days. Let's see what else I got here real quick. I already did that. Blah. What is this? Oh, this guy's a dope. I was going to talk about this guy, but I already talked about IEDC. So this whole IEDC, hold on, let me make sure. Okay, yeah, let's do this real quick, and then we'll get into the IED stuff. Okay, so where were the key education bill ended? This one that would requirement was repealed as part of the blah, blah, blah. Ethnic studies course requirement will no longer have to offer ethnic studies course. I didn't even know this was a thing. It got put in 2017. Now it's out, which is great. I don't even know why it was in there in the first place. They narrowly voted to make Indiana school board elections partisan. Guess what, cry people? You can still put nonpartisan on your thing. So it's partisan, nonpartisan. But we know that this is going to be mostly used for counties outside of Marion, Hamilton, Hendricks, yada, yada, the rural areas. Marion County's cooked, so it doesn't really matter. 9-person board tasked with conducting an assessment of all public school buildings in the IPS district boundaries will be created. I think Hogsett's going to be a part of it. Alicia Johnson, yeah, they're on the board and they get 4 and 2 appointments. And I think Hogsett wanted to make sure that all these meetings were going to be private. I think that got thrown into the budget bill last second. And This makes perfect sense. The A through F grades for school accountability. This is awesome. I absolutely love this. I didn't even know if that it was taken away, obviously, because I don't follow education that much. This was like a really like a head nosedive into education and stuff this year for all this stuff. So they're going to be having an A through F grade for all of the schools of accountability. They're going to have a letter grade for it, obviously. And let's see, between the lines, the over-reliance on those test scores is one of the criticisms in the early iteration of school. I saw a video. If you want to say who sent it to me in the chat, go for it. But just when Jennifer or Jessica McCormick, whatever her name is, Catfish McCormick, she was talking about how there's different things that they should be looking at. Hey, this is a grade on this part. This is a grade on that part. And they should be and take the average of it. Things are just far too overcomplicated. And I don't understand why. It's all these people that want to reinvent the wheel when things were working in the 80s, in the 90s already. And you're like, you know what? Actually, we have to do this whole different part of grading people. We also, by the way, we need to put their feelings in it, which is ridiculous. Hey, guess what? 2 apples plus 2 apples equals does not care about your feelings. Eat more apples and not Cheetos. Where was the other part? But yeah, the public education funding did go up and will continue to go up. This was kind of funny. Where is it? Okay, legislation would dissolve IPS 4 other school districts. All right, so this was back in January. This was Jake Teshka's bill. They're killing the Union School Corporation. I forgot which this was thrown into the budget, I think. I don't know if it was SB1 or the budget, but it was because this was part of HB 1136, and it was actually 5 school corporations that was going to be involved with this thing. The only reason why it even got any attention was because of IPS. Now, what people don't understand is I think there's only like 300 to 400 actual students that go to the Union School Corporation, but there's like 1,000. Thank you, SB1. But there's like how many is it? Like 1,000, 1,700 that are part of the virtual school in Union School Corporation. It's crazy of like the difference of people that go to actual in school compared to virtual school. I still am obviously not a fan of virtual school. Also, another thing. Okay, we might be like 952. So another thing that got killed, unfortunately, was this. So actually, fortunately for Delta 8 regulatory qualms, that got killed. Unfortunately, this whole homeless thing got killed as well. Now, Andrew Ireland, we had clipped this on Any Reporter and put it on there. Everybody was saying is like, oh, this is criminalizing homelessness, and it's really not. As Ireland said, we are never going to arrest or jail our way out of this problem. He said the goal is to keep public spaces accessible and clean while offering individuals every reasonable opportunity to access the services and the shelter they so desperately needed. Now, everybody, all the leftist people were saying, oh my God, they're going to get jailed for being homeless. No, you're in these public parks and you're shooting up and you're doing crack and you're putting litter everywhere. And what is happening is they're tired of it. And I'm tired of funding for it. And so they must warn the person to leave within 24 to 72 hour time frame. At the end, they say, hey, you know what? You're probably going to get taken into some place where you're going to get some treatment. But this is not a new thing, by the way. Southern California and San Jose. Oh, is this it? No, okay. San Jose. They're saying they're going to arrest homeless people. No, they have 3 chances to go and get themselves help. And then you're going to get thrown into jail. Then there's going to be problems. If these homeless people really want help, if they really want to better their lives, you're getting it on the taxpayer's dime, no doubt. But I think this Southern California mayor, this guy is so freaking based right now. Absolute W from this guy. He's just going to give all the homeless people all the fentanyl they want. Natural selection this is a big W. I don't care what any of you say. This was my plan for years. Hey, homeless people, all you want to do is drugs. So we're just going to give you all the fentanyl that you need, all the coke that you need. Personally, I think we should put them in a raptor cage and then just have like a bulldozer. So when they start keeling over and overdosing, we just like pull them up into a pile, and then we'll just turn them into compost. And then we'll just feed them, put them in the grass. You know, what was from the ground is back again. That's all. We're just, I can't wait for this to be clipped for later. But anyway, yeah, totally based. This is what I think I dropped in, blah, 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 blah. Bringing the original dead bill. Okay, I don't think I was going to say anything about this. Never emerged. Let's have one day of the purge. Listen, I'm all about that. Do you know how many people I would kill? I don't care. Clip this shit. I'd kill so many people without any empathy, by the way. I actually have a list. You know, it's really funny. Some producer over here, they know who I would kill. Oh boy, I can't wait for that to be used down the line. Oh, this guy was saying he was going to kill people. Yeah, I definitely would. I'd find all the homeless people first, and then I'd take them. Not anybody would. Maybe anybody that is that abuses dogs or any kind of animal, I would hang. I would actually put them. I would wrap a noose around their feet and then just drag them through the street. That's all I would do. But also good news, FSSA launches new verification. Speaking of scumbags, FSSA launches new verification resource for people on Medicaid waiver waitlist. Now, this was the problem. This is why there was such a big Medicaid kerfuffle like a year or two ago of, we don't have enough money for Medicaid. Was because during COVID, everything was shut down. So all these people that couldn't go into the hospital all got Medicaid. And we're like, what, 5th or 6th in the nation of going back to what we were pre-COVID for the Medicaid stuff. And there is a bunch of fraud. Allegedly, there's only like 10% fraud. And people like Andrea Hunley, that greasy pig Maureen Bauer, that psychopath Victoria Wilburn, they're all like, it's only a little bit of fraud. Like, how much money do we have to spend on this compared to how much fraud there is doing? So basically, you're saying it's a little bit of fraud. What's the big deal? So you know that there's fraud. You're like, but how much money would it take to stop that fraud? Well, I would say, just like driving a car, we should make it harder to get Medicaid, because guess what? That's off the taxpayer's dime. And last I checked, my roads are still crap. So I'd rather have my roads get fixed, and I would rather people make it harder for people to get on Medicaid and make sure that the messaging is there too. This is all because there was fraud. Same thing with welfare, same thing with SNAP. All these taxpayer funding programs, they all need to be audited, and there needs to be major consequences for people that have fraud. Personally, I think having like a hanging fest inside of Monument Circle, you get the people that are driving slow in the left lane, you get the animal abusers, you get the child rapists. We'll all throw them in one big thing. It will be like a New Year's celebration for it. We'll have a countdown. We'll have some jams and jellies out there. It'll be a really good time. It'll be like German Fest with Wiener Schnitzel, which, by the way, I still never got last year at German Fest. I'm still mad about that. All right, so let's get back to this whole IADC thing with 5 minutes left. All right, so This is very big news of what's going on. Braun wants an independent audit of IADC. So he put on an executive order back in January, I think, of this whole thing. And so this article came out from Hannah News Service. I recommend you follow them on Twitter, even though they don't never put anything out. You have to go onto their website. Their social media is crap, but they do have some pretty good articles. This is a very long article, and I had to read it a couple of times to know what's going on. Basically, a bunch of your taxpayer money went to Elevate Ventures, and then in the article, they're investing in this stuff, and so we're supposed to get the money from the investment, but we're not getting it. And then they wanted to build their own endowment and their own growth fund. It's actually on their website, but it ended up being a giant mess, and it really started turning into a big corruption fest after Holcomb left. Now, in here, they mentioned two people. They mention Brad Chambers and David Rosenberg, who are both former IADC presidents. So I went on the Chat GPT-ish, and I looked up of who were all the Secretary of Commerce in India since the IADC opened up, because when you are the Secretary of Commerce, you are the president of the IADC. And here's something that I did not know. So Victor Smith was actually part of the IADC, Who is Victor Smith? He was the chair to Braun's transition team. So it is kind of interesting that the guy who is part of IEDC, while this Elevate Venture stuff was happening, but his name isn't mentioned in there. But Brad Chambers, who was the former candidate to be governor, was in there, and David Rosenberg, which he is already questionable. Here's what I thought. Mitch Rube. Mitch Rube was apparently the president of IEDC, but he was I found this. He was originally running FSSA. He resigned and then went to IEDC. And guess where he is now? He is running FSSA again, which I thought was really interesting. Oh, see, it works. See, it works. But this is what I've been studying the last couple of days, because I'm finding all these different rabbit holes of what's going on. And then reading all of this, my gut feeling is that there's going to be a lot of things that will be dropping before the end of the year. And obviously I'll be keeping an eye on it. But I think this is what me and Kiff actually talked about, was something's not right. This is a lot of information. And all of a sudden this thing gets dropped. I mean, this, not only is it a lot of information, it's detailed information. I think there's a mole somewhere and they're covering their ass on it, because the amount of information when they talk about elevated ventures of this federal money, they're giving names. They're giving what actually happened. Okay, we need the person. I say, Kiff, my strongest soldier. Let's go. But this is but look how long this article is. Whistleblowers don't even have this much information on it. So my feelings right now is that this is an op to make sure that somebody doesn't get in trouble, and they're shifting it towards somebody else. I don't know exactly who, because we all knew that Brad Chambers is slimy. David Rosenberg is definitely slimy. But Victor Smith is also very slimy. This Jim Schellinger, I don't know who he is, but he got appointed by Pence. Mitch Rube was part of the IEDC and FSSA, and he's part of FSSA now. This whole thing just screams corruption, obviously, but I think there's a lot of fingers in the pie, and they're all trying to make sure that they don't get in trouble. All right, 30 seconds, producer John. But this is where we're at right now with this. Obviously, I'll be paying attention on it. So don't forget, next Tuesday, I will be having my weed show. I know, the show that you've all been looking forward to. The show that that you're all going to try and argue that I'm against. It's going to get so bad in that comment section that I'm not even going to read it. I'm going to minimize it. And also, don't forget, this Friday, 8:00 p.m., it's going to be having the hierarchy. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Kip. Don't forget, we're going to be having the Trust Hierarchy show on Saturday at 8 p.m. It'll be on the Indie Reporter Twitter and the Indie Reporter YouTube. So, yeah, that's it. Don't forget to watch Mouthwash. 9:00 in like 10 minutes. All right. Love you guys. Bye.